My name is Daniel Walker, go by the name GeometrickFX, and I'm a beatboxer. I've been beatboxing for almost 6 years, started January 2011. I've been into music ever since I was 9 years old, and I've always wanted to find an art form that could basically contribute to my music. So I've always wanted to be a singer, and I've always wanted to be a rapper. I even wanted to be a DJ. And then just like almost 6 years ago, when I started beatboxing, it was a really unique art form that wasn't really out there as much. So I'm creating it fundamentally, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. This guy, he knows how to make music with his mouth. At first it was funny, but then after that, I sensed it very seriously because beatboxing is actually making music. So I was wondering how I could make that compatible for myself. Yes, beatboxers are inspirations to me a lot because they say some keywords, but another thing is that ever since I started beatboxing, my inspirations were really just a lot of people who took their art very serious. And I could see we all have similarities with the elements that we utilize within art forms, which is not even just music itself. It's like people like Bruce Lee, for example. He had flow, he had rhythm with his art. That's why he says, martial arts is a concept. The thing is that he was, he was a multi-dimensional artist, and he wasn't. Maybe most of all, he was a martial artist, but yet he was a director. He was a philosopher. He was more than just one thing, but he's just labeled as a martial artist. Same thing with a lot of people out there like Michael Jackson, for example, who's mainly known as a singer, but yet you see him dancing, you see him on, movies, and you see him on other things as well. So, it's just like, basically, those are inspirations. Beatboxers, they're like friends and whatnot, and they're people I could really hang around with and relate to. But when it comes to inspirations, it comes to those people who actually have impacts on people's lives. I can tell you one thing about beatboxing, like I said, it's treated differently nowadays because it's still evolutionizing to the point to where people could see it on movies, people could see it on shows, and people could just typically see it everywhere, like how the way they see dancing, singing, and rapping and whatnot nowadays. And I don't think it really sets apart because beatboxing really is, well, in simple terms, vocal percussion. It's a universal language. Beatboxing has been around for millenniums, and I'm not talking about kicks and snares and hi-hats. I'm talking about actually like throat singing, for example. That contributes to beatboxing as well. When it comes to drums, when it comes to making sound effects as well, that's all part of beatboxing. Rapping, for example. So rapping involves poetry. Rapping involves rhyming. But they don't tell you that for whatever funny reason. But that's the thing that's been around before rapping. It's just that rapping, for example, as to beatboxing has marketed itself, and people put labels on it, and that's why they call it rapping. And rapping is within the hip hop culture, just as beatboxing is, and graffiti and dancing and whatnot. But I believe that it doesn't separate. I really think that it's just now calling upon itself. Like, it's starting to be just as big as any other art form. It may have been separated for a while because it's been forgotten for like over 10, 20 years, but now we're just bringing it back. Well, I want to pioneer around the world to show people my personal art form of beatboxing and what I think it is, and show people what I have become into beatboxing, so I can influence others, even people who are younger than me, into beatboxing, because that's how much I love it as a passion. And I also want to study more about beatboxing, but vocal percussion, but where it really, really came from, so I could get my accurate resources together. So yeah. Challenges really is just, we have a lot of tournaments. We have beatboxers basically battling each other, but that really gives people in certain eras, people even my age or younger, they have the battle mentality. And it actually took me a little while to understand that beatboxing is not all about battling. yet it is cool to battle. It is cool to have fun and to show off your skills and to have that person show off his skills and flavor. But the thing is that we want to think multidimensionally on how we can grow the art instead of just growing that fundamental process of battling. Because in my personal opinion, I think solo showcasing, collaborating, and showing off the art to other people who don't even beatbox is better than just battling itself. But it's growing to that point. So I think that's really the only challenge, and we do have a certain amount of hate for the community because this beatboxer doesn't like that beatboxer for whatever reason. It's starting to become an industry, which typically happens for a lot of art forms nowadays. But yet we want to try to avoid that because it's still growing to the point to where we can create a subjective system for it. So yeah, I believe the top beatboxers, the ones who made legacies, could really change the beatbox world. And for me, for my own objective system, showing people that you can do the same thing that I can do. You can do the same thing that Reaps One can do, Tom Thumbs, Dougie Fresh, all the other beatboxers who have a lot of inspiration, and put it on upon people who want to start beatboxing or people who don't have the right mentality for it, and to basically school people into it.
Can you show us a demonstration of your beatboxing?
Sure. So we're to start like this. Start off with a simple beat like. Then make more sounds like.